What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. I swear, we're going to start recording the pre-show conversations, and we're going to release that in documentary form later. Jacob shaking his head.
No, we're not.
That's it. I'm done. Bye.
We're going to jail.
How you boys doing this morning? We got Tim here live in Green Bay. We got Jacob there on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. What's going on this morning, fellas?
Tired.
You gotta get that PTA cup of diesel going right
look
there.
Look at that cup right there. You kidding me?
Mine's in the mail.
Yeah, yours is on its way, right?
Yep.
The delivery guy is going to show up like this.
Love to see it. Look at this right here. We got us a co-host today. Look at little Miss Etta over here. Let me give her the ISO cam real quick. You ready? Check her out. She's just like, I dare one of these neighbors to go out and check their mail today. Just let them. I'll let them have it. I'll let you know if anybody's out here. So there's Miss Etta. Now her brother, he's probably over there across the room. Of course, he's over there. I'm sure he's digging in the plants. Mandy's got 2 lemon trees up here in the studio. She's got some kind of exotic plant in a big bowl. And we come up here about twice a week, and there's dirt scattered everywhere where Link gets in there and just digs them out. So that's probably what he's doing at the moment. Either that or laying on the couch chewing on a pillow. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be here this Sunday morning. I tell you, people had to remind me what day it was yesterday. Everything was kind of a blur. But glad to be here. Glad to be talking a little combine talk. We'll get into some other Packers stuff. We'll hear from Goody. I'm finally going to force us to play that video that we've had in the hopper for about 4 days now. And also wanted to take a glance at the 33rd team big board. I don't think their big board has changed at all, guys, but I like to look at it now after some of these combine numbers come in, you know what I mean, and kind of see, because like they had Jeremiah Trotter Jr. way down, right? And we were like, wow, that's really low for Trotter Jr. And then, of course, he doesn't perform at the combine. He did measure in. He measured in, pretty small. It's like, okay, maybe they were onto something there. That's typically how it happens with the 33rd team. It's ran by former executives, former coaches, all that good stuff. So before we get into that, though, just want to say that today's show is sponsored by Ticket King, your number one ticket source there in the state of Wisconsin. I'm excited to have them as the official Packers ticket provider of Packers Total Access. They're Wisconsin-based, been there since 1992, specializing in Packer tickets, Wisconsin's largest ticket source. They've got offices right next to Lambeau Field and also in Milwaukee if you want to go in and actually have a conversation with someone, get some information on tickets coming up this season. It's never too early to start reaching out. They can put you on lists, things like that, I'm sure, callback lists. As soon as the schedule releases in May, you're definitely going to want to give them a call. They're going to have tickets immediately. I believe they may buy tickets too. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they are your number one Packer ticket source for sure. Go check out their website, www.theticketking.com. You can register for free as a customer there, and I'm sure they got some kind of email newsletter stuff that they can set you up on too, just so you can kind of stay plugged in. I know this, guys. If I lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, if I lived within 2 hours of Green Bay, I would be broke, because I would be going to every single game. And anyone who shops with Ticket King, they always talk about how, man, they can really, really consistently beat the prices of some of the big competitors. So you could just check with them. I'd be checking with them on game days, what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your cheapest ticket?
Conveniently located right by Lambeau Field, right across the street, man. Like, right around the corner.
Right on the corner, right on the price. We got a local car lot that we make fun of here in town. They've got an ad that they say that on. Man, I love those cheese.
And our Milwaukee listeners, they're conveniently located downtown. I believe on Broadway, downtown Milwaukee, Broadway and Mason on the corner. So check out the Ticket King for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, cool. Jacob, you got anything you want to kick off with, man? Anything that you might have slept on last night, woke up and said, hey, I'd like to chat about that. If not, it's totally cool. We could jump into some of this other stuff.
I mean, not nothing that I was really thinking about. There was a couple things, I guess, yesterday that I was still, that Xavier Worthy thing, to me is crazy that it was a guy that I literally didn't know his name. And now they're talking about how he could be a first or second round draft pick. So there are certain extremes, like we talked about, how you either are really going to help yourself, really going to hurt yourself, or it's just going to be kind of a nothing burger. And that is a case where that dude just catapulted himself. He made himself a lot of money yesterday. So
you see here on the 33rd team horizontal board, they had him in the 6.4 range. So just to put that in perspective, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 receivers ahead of him. Now he'll probably skyrocket to the top of this area right here. I would imagine it's that important. The speed is, but at the same time, I'm not changing a thing on my board other than the normal bonuses that I give. I told you guys how I kind of do that. The way I roll with that is if you have a great combine, you're going to get rewarded for it. But if you have a bad combine, I'm not going to penalize, right? That way you got guys. The reason I did it that way, former execs, former coaches, what do they say? And even scouts, mainly scouts. The numbers at the combine, the pro days, they use that to confirm what they've seen on tape. Okay. So if you've got a player like that, hey, his tape looked good. Wow, that confirms what we've seen there. He's got that kind of athletic ability. Awesome. Notice they didn't say we use that to knock people off our boards, right? And it doesn't mean that, if you've got two players at the same position that are grading out similarly, let's say they're in that 7+, or let's say they're in like the 6.5 category. Both are best players available, and you've got really good combine numbers on one and not so great combine numbers on the other. They still graded out the same. You're going with that one with a better combine number. So it is important. It's just some people completely shuffle their board around, and I just don't like to approach it like that. So Peter Stone in the chat says, according to Jake, he says he is a good wide receiver. I know when I had him on my board, I showed you guys. I'm trying to think of where I had him. The consensus big board had him in the 40s, right? So just outside of the first round. So I think it does catapult him into the first round. Let's see if we can find him here on my board. And it's kind of hard to read. I'm going to turn my camera off and get really close. I'll tell you guys what number when I find it. And again, that is, what was his name again? Jacob, his whole name?
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy. Okay, so he's not in
who?
He's not in my top 50. Let's see if we can find him here as we climb down the list. We're on 50 through 100 now. If you see him too, call it out, Jacob. It's kind of hard to see. Where we're zooming in here. Let's see, top one. Now we're going 100 to 150.
Oh, right there. He's at 109.
Yep, I've got him at 109. And to kind of put that into perspective, if you go over to the middle orange column, see how it says 117.7, right? So that was his grade. He's going to get a 5-point bonus. So that pushes him to 112.7. So really, it'll just have him leapfrog one guy on the board for me. See how there's not a huge change, but also it's a quick reference. When the draft's going on and I've got this vertical board, I can look and go, yep, crush the combine. In some cases, too, I look up and go, man, he crushed the combine, but he didn't do anything else. Don't fall in love with him because of the combine. Some people will literally build their board off the combine. And do your thing. That's just that's not me. Like, let me give you an example. Rome Odunze here. He was sitting at 12.7. He was in the number 8 spot. He gets his bonus. That jumps him now to 7.7. So he's going to climb a full spot unless Fuaga gets the same 5-point bonus, and then it'll stabilize out, right? So you can just see how far he jumped there on my board. It's significant having that information there for sure. So, and the way we do that is a 9+ RAS is a 5-point bonus, a 8+ or an 8 to 8.9 RAS is a 3-point bonus, and then a 7 RAS is a 1-point bonus. So that's just kind of how I throw that in there. Before we get too deep into the horizontal board we just pulled up, we'll dive into it again. You guys keep an eye on the chat for me. Let's play this video from Goot real quick. This was Larry McCarron interviewing Brian Gutekunst at the Combine a few days ago. And let's see if we can get a little insight into what maybe Goot's thinking this draft.
Brian, the football mentality is always to get a little better every day, to always be improving. But how were you and your staff top last year? The amount of impact players you got out of that group, amazing.
Yeah, I think, two things. One, there was opportunity for them, right? Maybe there wouldn't have been in the past. And I think you got to give those guys a lot of credit. They really seized their opportunity, not only individually, but as a team. And they really came together. It was neat to see. I think the key for us is to never get away from the competition fact, that we want to make sure that the players we acquired last year and the year before, they've done a really nice job, but it's really what you do from here, and we're going to bring in some guys to compete, and hopefully that healthy competition within each room will grow into really good units that eventually make us a really good team.
Brian, this draft class, what's its personality? Where is it strong? Where is it not so strong?
The receiver group is strong again, which I think you're going to start to see more and more just with the 7-on-7 and how much these guys play now. But the overall depth is good, and I think we'll certainly have an opportunity to help the Green Bay Packers.
5 picks in the first 100. What does that allow you to do?
Get good players, right? I mean, obviously that's what we're here for, but I also think it gives a little bit of flexibility, whether it's moving around within the draft or if there's players out there, veteran players that are available, that certainly could be a possibility as well. So you never have enough, and you want them as high as they can be. But I think with some of the things we've done in the past, we've set ourselves up to have some flexibility and ammunition as we go into this draft.
Considering how strong you are with young receivers, would that preclude you from selecting one?
No, not at all, and it goes back to the competition, in every room. I think all those players did a really nice job in 2023 of competing and taking advantage of their opportunities. But 2024 is a new year, and they're going to need to do the same thing again and again, and we're going to bring players in that will compete with them. It is a strong room as we sit here today, which is exciting. But what they do from now until the middle of next season will determine that. So if we find the right players that we think can compete and add to our team, we'll certainly do it.
How different is this draft, your preparation for it and so forth, from last year, in the sense you now know you got the guy at the most important position, Jordan Love?
Hey, just quick, Jacob, look at that pinky right there, big dog.
Oh, good Lord.
Just want to make sure.
Know it. You saw it.
Yeah. I think, certainly we felt it last year, and our mindset as we built the team was going to be in the same way. But again, so proud of Jordan and what he accomplished last year individually and how he led our football team. He's got so much more in front of him for growth, just like a lot of our young players do. But I do think the stability at that position certainly gives us confidence as we head into this season.
He went through a 9-game stretch with 21 touchdown passes and 1 interception. Now, I've heard you say previously there's more there. Where? I mean, how does that young fella get better? I look at the 21-1.
Yeah, you saw it in last season. I think as he saw things for the first time, as he experienced things for the first time, when he got to him the second time, it became calmer, it became cleaner. I think as Matt learned him and to set things best up for him, I think that'll continue to grow, and people are going to attack him differently, and he's going to have to deal with those challenges. But I think as he grows and he has the foundational things that he's built, I think he'll be able to handle those challenges because they're all going to be unique. And but I think having that confidence that if you put in the work and you stay to the process, believe in team, that we'll get to the other side of it.
We drafted a wide receiver.
Yeah,
he's going to do it.
Thank you, Jacob. Like
you think he
my
is?
thoughts exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh man, we're taking a receiver in the 5th round.
Yep,
That's happening.
I'm saying it would be a goody thing to the 1 year. This is the very first year, me as a Packer fan, since I cannot tell you, I really can't think of the last year where there weren't people going, Packers have got to go with the first round or wide receiver in the first round. The first year that they don't talk about it, watch him do it. I would laugh hysterically. And that's kind of the conversation here in the chat. I know most Packer fans disagree. STM40 says, I know competition is a thing and injuries may happen, but if you add a wide receiver, you have to cut a wide receiver. And then Peter Stone said, yeah, agreed, STM40. I don't think we need to draft a wide receiver either. I'm in that same boat. I think the wide receiver room is set. But that being said, this is the year that Goody will take a wide receiver. But
this is why we're not NFL GMs.
Exactly correct. That's right.
It's true. I mean, the same logic has to apply, just like quarterback, right? When you don't need one, that's the best time to take one. You've got a young receiver room with a lot of talent. Why not add a little more competition in there? So
definitely. And think about this too. What we talked about, Bill Walsh 101. Wide receiver is the last piece you put in place. Leading up to last year, why haven't we drafted a wide receiver in the first round? Why didn't we do it? Because we didn't have everything else in place.
Yeah.
Right. Now you look up and what do? You go, I mean, we were literally a top 5 team at the end of the season, right? I think everybody would agree with. Now, will we start that way? That's a whole nother topic, right?
Yep.
No, especially with Matt LaFleur's track record of kind of getting started slow. But yeah, so you could really look up and go, you know what, guys, like yeah, we need a safety, we need this and that, but this team is top 5. No one's going to convince me that our safety room was a reason that we played so well last year, right? Like
Right.
they made some plays in the playoffs, obviously they're in the Dallas game, but if someone told me, hey, you don't get that pick 6 against Dallas, do you still win that game? I feel real comfortable saying yeah, because the offense was just freaking on fire, right? So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens, though. Jacob, you really think they're going to take a wide receiver, man?
I would almost bet on it. I don't know, just the way that he went out of his way to. He asked, which position group is deep in this draft, and he's like wide receivers, and they're like, well, so because we're pretty stacked at wide receiver, does that mean you wouldn't draft one? No, not at all. You know what I mean? Like he was just so blunt about it, and then he went on to say that he wants to add more competition, and that he doesn't want guys getting, I'm putting words in his mouth, but it sounds like he's like, I don't, yeah, last year was great. These guys had a lot of fire up their ass, up their butt. Sorry. And
good, man, you're good.
And then that this year he wants that exact same dynamic. So it would make sense to me. And like we talked about last night, he may want Grant DuBose, but I think that if anything, he's going to want to challenge Grant DuBose to see if that position can get improved as well as the practice squad. And then who knows? I could see Goody putting us in position so that in like a year or two, when we actually have to start paying, all these guys at once. Sorry, but it may suck, but one of them's probably going to be used as trade bait. You know what I mean? If he's smart, he's probably going to use one of them, deal him away, get some money back. So,
yeah. William Gould in the chat says we still don't have everything else in place. It's a good point, William. Like you say, the safety room is bare right now. But if he goes out in free agency, and let's say that he does sign 1 or 2 safeties, and you go, okay, there's your starting safeties. Now you just need to draft a little bit of depth. What other position do you need right now? Right. That's the thing. Like when you look up, you go, okay, you look at the linebacker room. We talk about linebacker, we talk about corner, we talk about safety. For me, the 2 biggest needs are corner and safety. If you told me, if you made me answer a question, which position group is stronger, your linebacker core or your safety core? Hands down, it's your linebacker core. If you ask me which one's stronger, your cornerback or your linebacker core, that's a little bit closer conversation. But other than Jair, who do you have? You've got 2 players that graded out in the 50s, right? You've got and look at their passer rate when targeted too. It was not pretty. It wasn't just the PFF grade. You look at the tape, you see the blown coverages, you see all those things happening. But yeah, it's just interesting, man, because I don't know if Goody will ever take a wide receiver in the first round. I'm just saying it would be absolutely hilarious if he did it this year, because our wide receiver room seems like it's set for the foreseeable future, no doubt about it.
I would agree, and that's why when I look at offensively, you make a great point. We just talk about safety and linebacker, right? Okay, well, clearly the linebacker room is the strength there comparatively. Well, if I look at offense, we're straight with receivers right now, but man, interior offensive line is a concern, and as well as tackle. We talked about bringing in, a swing tackle at the very least. And I really think that should happen before we, trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. or something, So
right.
I don't know. But talk about making the receiver competition interesting, right?
Yeah.
And imagine if Bach actually retires, that shifts the whole, like that to me, that would shift the whole perspective of our draft. Like we might have to think about going tackle in the first 1 or 2 rounds.
I'm telling you, man, as soon as you said, imagine if Bach retires, I heard look at her. She just shifted. She was like, she was facing me, and she just shifted over like, I ain't trying to hear this.
She was like,
you sure about that?
Exactly correct. So Peter Stone says, yes, agreed. We need to get our defense and offensive line in order first. When it comes to the O-line, it's funny about Rasheed Walker because there's no one who's kind of middle ground. They either think he is the starting left tackle of the future, or they talk about our offensive line being kind of wrecked, right? When I look at our offensive line, I think they're built exactly how the Packers wanted them built. They're a really good pass blocking offensive line. Jordan Love was in the top 10 all season long in quarterbacks who were pressured the least. The first half of the season, when he played bad, they were actually in the top 3, right? So they were the third least pressured team quarterback in the league for the first half of the season for the most part. And then as soon as the pressure started hitting home a little bit there in the second half, he started balling out. It's like, hey, forget keeping that tight end in from here on out. Forget the chips. Let him rush him because he plays better when he's under pressure. It's pretty cool. It really is.
We didn't run the ball very much early in the season, though, as effectively as we did down the stretch. I think that kind of opened things up, too, for us. But, yeah, you're right, man. The pass pro is there, and that's by design for sure. And I think that's their attitude, right? Let's protect our franchise quarterback, and then we'll work with these guys and get them to run block here. And having a veteran back like Aaron Jones is priceless too in that scenario. So we'll see what happens this year. But we gotta beef up O-line a little bit. Right guard is a concern, right, guys?
If you get a stud right guard plugged in there with the way this offensive line is set right now in pass blocking, and Zach or what's his name? Not Zach Martin. The Barton guy. What's his name?
Greg Barton.
We're just throwing names out now. Anyway, Barton from Duke. They interviewed him yesterday, and they were talking to him, and he said, I feel like I'm ready to play all 5 positions. I was going, boy, oh boy, 25th pick. I'd be okay with this right here. Because you can see here, I'll go solo real quick just to kind of show you, and we'll talk about this stuff as we get a little deeper here in the conversation. We'll just keep pulling this up. But you see, let's see, where was he at? I've already lost him. Here we go. They've got him listed as a guard/center. Some people say he can play left tackle. That's obviously what he was referring to. But he's in the 6.6 range. So to put that into perspective, right? You got Joe Alt, Latham, Fashanu, Fuaga, Guyton, Fontana, Powers Johnson, and then it comes down to Barton. Last night we drafted Mims. You guys remember Barton was available too. Well, according to the 33rd team, they're grading out the same, right? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's 100% the case. Let me go back to my board real quick and see if we can find Barton on it. And let's see here. If you'll pull that down just a second, Jacob, but don't lose it because I want to hit on that for sure. I want to hit on that comment there. Let's see here. Barton. Where's he at on my list here? Thank you. I appreciate it. Just want to make sure I don't miss him here. He would definitely be I'm pretty sure he's lit up in the blue. I don't know. Maybe he's listed as a tackle on mine. There's so many people that have kind of shifted him around a bit. He might be in the green. Let's see here. Because I thought I was pretty high on him, if I remember correctly. You see Barton anywhere? Where's he at? Is he really down to the 100 range? Holy cow, if he is. That's pretty wild. I don't even see him. Might be covered up by the ticker, too. Watch that be the case. Let's see here. Barton. Not seeing him. I know he's on there. This is why you don't ask yourself a question.
Graham Barton, 23rd.
23rd. Okay, cool. So he's in the 23. So I do have him listed as a tackle. That's why I was missing. All right, cool. So we have him at 23, right? And the other was Mims, right? Mims is right above him at 22. You see where they rank on mine. They're right there together. My board's lining up really, really closely to the 33rd team, which is kind of cool. The thing about Graham Barton, that first number you're seeing, that's from 2022. So he was the 7th best tackle, I believe is how it was sorted. He was the 7th best, highest graded tackle according to PFF in 2022. So, and then he was 68 on the overall list, right? And I think I don't think Daniel Jeremiah. Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah. It looks like Daniel Jeremiah has him 33rd on his top 52. So, interesting there. We'll see how that all shakes out. You can pull that other comment up now, Jacob, and we'll hit on it real quick if you still have it marked. Brett Rogers says next year's draft has a way better safety class, and this year's free agency has decent depth. Thoughts on Goot signing multiple free agents and maybe just one via draft? I think that's very realistic. Jacob, I know we've looked at this over and over and over. You know, the free agents that we come up with, everything you just said, Brett, lines up exactly with the information that we gathered too. We feel like there's a few options at safety in free agency. We said Geno Stone from Baltimore. We said Alohi Gilman from the LA Chargers. We said Darnell Savage for the right price, right? $5 million. Another one is Xavier McKinney that became available now, right? He's at $12.5 million. That's going to be a little bit tougher, but I would much rather them sign both Geno Stone and Alohi Gilman rather than sign Xavier McKinney, although I wouldn't be upset if they did sign Xavier McKinney. If you can go out and get you a potential starting safety in free agency and then somehow, some way grab Nubin or maybe Jacob's guy there, what's his name again? Javon Bullard. Is that right? Yep. I would feel a lot better about that safety room, no doubt about it. But yeah, what do you think about that, Jacob? Do you feel like as far as the safety class? Yeah, I mean it's a little top heavy, and I'm expecting Kenshin's to drop here on the 33rd team. I could be wrong. They may just hold strong and keep him at 6.7. But after that showing at the combine, most people will look at that and go, yeah, okay, he doesn't have quite the measurables we want in a 6.7 range. And when you look at those ranges that we talk about, the grading scale, that 6.7 to 6.9 is supposed to be a strong starter. So not sure that we're sold on that after the combine. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah. I think for sure that I would try to do something in free agency just to maybe have that floor. I'd like to see Geno Stone come in here. That'd be great. Honestly, if we could get Kevin Byard for less than, it feels around $8 or $9 million a year, I'd be willing to maybe shell out some money for that. But yeah, realistically, I think that I would love to get Geno Stone in here and then maybe take at least a stab or two in the draft at safety. And then maybe get a guy like supposedly Bullard can play that slot corner, and a lot of those safeties can or have a little bit of that fluidity that they can move from a couple different positions. I think that would be the best thing overall, is if we had some people that were interchangeable a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I agree with that. Of course, hopefully we get your boy Nubin. And,
hello, Nubin.
Hello, Nubin. But yeah, I think safety is because you got Anthony Johnson Jr. standing on an island right now by himself, and he's a guy that didn't play very well his rookie year, but was kind of unexpectedly thrown into the fire early on, and I think there's nowhere for him to go but up, and having some good talent back there mixed in is going to help a younger guy like that. So, it's a two-pronged approach, man. I think we got to do both. We got to draft a couple, and we got to hit on at least one of these in free agency for sure.
Yeah. And STM40 said, I hope we hit safety in free agency early and often. I'm starting to be irritated that we have to be locked in at drafting a safety in the second. Want to keep our options open with regard to best player available at 41 and 58. That's a very good point too, man. Very good point. And with our latest mock that we did last night, I'll flash it up here real quick. This is how it unloaded for us. We went with Mims. Would have been totally cool going with Barton, like we said. I think Mims was slightly rated higher on the consensus big board. But we went with Tyler Nubin at 41. That's exactly what he was just talking about. And then we went back at 88 and got Javon Bullard. So imagine if we don't take Nubin at 41, right? Because you landed, one or two free agents and you feeling a little bit better about the safety room. I would be totally cool with, having a Geno Stone or a Alohi Gilman or both on the roster. And then you don't take Tyler Nubin, but you still grab Javon Bullard later, someone you can mix into the slot. I would be cool with that combination too. So I think you make a great point there, man. Since we're kind of talking about DBs, Jacob sent me a video yesterday. It was kind of cool. This is Elijah Jones, Boston College DB at the combine, and he was asked about Jeff Hafley because I think there was a Packers media member in the crowd, and they just wanted to kind of get his take on Jeff Hafley. Let's see what one of his pupils had to say. We've heard Richard Sherman talk about him. We've heard multiple players talk about him. We've heard other coaches talk about him, how he's so keyed in on the details. He's a teacher. He's just kind of this I don't want to say schemer, but he communicates really, really well the basics of the game. And when you're able to communicate the basics of the game to the players and they get it, they actually get it, it allows them to play faster on the field. That's really what it comes down to. But let's see what Elijah Jones had to say about Jeff Hafley, the Green Bay Packers' new defensive coordinator.
No, it's just protocol within the combine.
Okay, cool. From Wisconsin, so I want to know a little about Jeff Hafley.
Sure.
Give me a sense of who he was as a coach, how he helped you specifically, the defensive back specifically.
I love Coach Haff, man. I mean, great football mind. Biggest thing I think that he helped change my game was just how I learned about football. It's not just, going out there and just playing the game. It's more about understanding your opponent, understanding how you're going to get attacked. And he was just a great teacher. As a head coach, especially as a DB guy, defensive guy, he could have just, manhandled and micromanaged the defense, but he let his coaches coach, what I loved as well. He just instilled the utmost confidence within you playing against whoever. It wasn't like, oh, we're playing Florida State, we got to be scared of Florida State. It's like nameless great faces, so go out there, whoever it is always about us.
What was your reaction when you found out he was headed to the NFL?
I kind of saw it coming a little bit with the way the college football is going nowadays. I feel like that's one of the reasons, Nick Saban left and a lot of these other coaches are kind of leaving. But I'm excited for him. It was a great opportunity. I feel like he always, wanted to kind of be in the NFL again, and I feel like that's a great opportunity for him with a great team.
How do you feel like he prepared you specifically? Like, how did he get you up to speed to the point that you're here?
Definitely. I feel like I'm the smartest DB in the draft here. Anytime I go on the board, I can draw all 11, and he kind of really instilled that within us. It's not just learning your position. It's about learning how, one, where your help is, two, kind of why things happen and not just how things happen.
So there you go.
That was Joey Van Zummeren. You guys remember underage Packers pod, Big B and Joey?
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's at Joey VZ_. Follow him on Twitter. He's actually he's covering Mizzou athletics right now, but he's also obviously doing some other reporting here at the combine. So Wisconsin's own asking the big questions there. So shout out to Joey.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff there. Let's see where Elijah Jones sits on the big board. I just want to know because I haven't heard much. Have you heard much about him, Jacob, at all?
Not a ton, but I think he had a decent combine, if I'm not mistaken.
If you had those numbers, pull them up. If not, I'm going to go to him on the consensus big board and just kind of see where he sits. I'm pretty sure he's low on the board, but I could be wrong. Elijah Jones, 279.
Oh yeah, he ran a 4.45.
Wow. And here's the thing. He peaked at 151. He's sitting at 279. Now that he's solidified that 40-yard dash, think back to what Daniel Jeremiah, longtime scout, said. Speed is the most important thing when it comes to corners because they got to be able to match speed with the wide receiver as opposed to the wide receiver speed, you being able to control the DB speed as you run.
Do we have a split on him? What was his split? Because that's important too for a DB.
Yeah,
when you're talking about say you're playing maybe 5 yards off, the guy's running right at you. How quickly can you accelerate?
Yeah, let me look real quick. You guys talk for a second. I'll pull that up, Tim. I'd like to know that too.
I just feel like that's kind of like something that would tell us something as far as metrics go with a DB because you can be super fast all day, but if it takes you 10 yards to get up to speed, you're cooked already. So I think that's one of the things they're looking at. It's an important thing for wideouts and for DBs, I think, is that split time.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. I think we've got it pulled up. Cornerbacks. Let's go.
SDN 40 maybe beat you. Is it 1.58?
1.58. There we go.
Stuff.
Appreciate so under 2 seconds.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna scroll down here and find him just so we can kind of look at all of his numbers real quick. Let's see here. Is he even listed? It's weird, man. Some of these guys aren't even listed on here.
That's an interesting.
Yeah, Elijah Jones. Love the cap too. Nice. 4.44, like you said, right? And the 40. Let's see what his others look like. You guys just got the 10-yard split, right? So let's go to vertical real quick. Oh, by the way, he just led the entire combine with a 42.5-inch vertical.
Dang. That's huge.
Go there. Broad jump. He was 4th in the broad jump at 10 foot 11 inches. All right. So there's that. 3-cone. See if he ran the 3-cone. 3-cone will tell a lot here. I expect that to drop a touch. Not everybody ran the 3-cone, did they? So there's only a handful of guys that ran it. So he's not on that list.
9.6 RAS.
Heck yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
That's it. Goody's taking him.
I was going to say, it just seems too perfect.
Goody's really filling out the card right now.
If there was a guy, here's the guy. If there was a guy that Hafley in this draft said, hey, I kind of like this guy, coached him in college, that's probably the dude. You're talking about someone who might be outside of the top 100, right? Just something to keep an eye on, but I like his answer. It was more about trying to gather information about Jeff Hafley than it was how good is Elijah Jones. But
and what did we get? What did we get for info on that? He said, I'm the smartest DB in this draft because of Jeff Hafley. So physical attributes aside, you got a kid with his head screwed on straight and understands his responsibilities back there. So
yeah,
could be someone to put on the radar here.
Draft him.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't think we've talked about him on the consensus big board yet, right? So let's see if we can find Elijah Jones. How far down is he? They've got him in the 5.9 range, so obviously much lower. But they've also got Melton down there. Yeah. They got Cam Hart down there. 33rd team, man. Like I said, it's comprised of a whole bunch of former executives, coaches, and players, and their boards always look much different than your basic Mel Kippers and people like that. And that's why I really like to use it as a back reference. I know when Emilio's here for the draft, I'm going to have a printed copy of the horizontal board for the 33rd team so he can use to kind of track it for me while I track with my board and some of the other stuff too. The live draft show is going to be a lot of fun this year, guys. We're going to have a blast with this. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to see? Any specific positions, Jacob, you'd like to see as far as the 33rd team and their horizontal board here? We can kind of scroll through. We can isolate. If you want me to check some of these off and we can just focus on a handful of positions, we can do that too. I really like the way the board looks overall. So you can kind of see how things fall into place. But because keep in mind, this board was created before the combine. It'll probably change. It'll probably shift, right? And when it does, you want a mental note of what it looked like. But I think it's cool to look at it before it changes and know who did well in the combine now. But anybody, Jacob?
I just want to highlight, I guess, a guy that for whatever reason, he jumped off the screen to me when I was watching the combine, that Mekhi Wingo from LSU. And I guess I didn't realize that the 33rd team had him ranked the 4th overall D tackle. So that makes me feel kind of cool because I was watching. He looked like kind of like Aaron Donald-ish. Like he was very quick. He was very concise. His footwork was dynamic. He looked like he has a lot of power for his body size. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at all if the Packers took a little bit of maybe like a 3rd round pick on that dude.
Yeah. They've got him ranked 39th overall, 3rd best defensive tackle, it looks like, is how they've got him ranked right there. 6.6 grade on him. Tim, you got anybody you'd like to see here on this horizontal board? See where they line up at, man?
Not specifically, but I'm glad Jacob brought that up. Can we look at just the D-line group?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we focus on just the defensive tackles here, you've got Jerzon Newton is their top defensive lineman. Keep in mind, he's a 6.7. So they don't have any defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen. They don't have any of those in the top 3 tiers of talent. Okay, so they got them in the 6.7 range, which means strong starter, right? 6.7 to 6.9 is a strong starter, but they still want to separate them in tiers here. When you hear me talk about the top available tier, this is how NFL teams build their draft board. Okay, that's why I love the 33rd team. You'll see people, they build it different. They build their horizontal boards different. And you'll hear people say, that's a first-round talent. Notice on their grading scale, nowhere does it say first-round talent. Nowhere does it say second-round talent.
Because it doesn't matter what round you're drafted in.
Exactly.
It matters what caliber of player you are.
Right. That's the way they look at it. And I'll tell you what determines whether you're a first-round or a second-round talent. Are you in the top 32 or not? That's the way they look at it because – that's you compare it. You get, you got to compare apples to apples in that regard. So with the defensive linemen, they've got Jerzon Newton, then Byron Murphy. They've got Tavondre Sweat. Those are your top 3. They're all in the 6.7 range. Then it drops down to Wingo, the guy Jacob was just talking about. He's in the 6.6 range. Then we go down to 6.5. You got Darius Robinson out of Missouri. You got Leonard Taylor. You got Hora. You've got Chris Jenkins in the 6.5 range. Now it drops off a little bit. So
we got nobody.
6.4, nobody. 6.3, nobody.
So guys, we gotta take a defensive tackle here in the 2nd or 3rd round, then, right?
I mean, well, if you completely agree with the 33rd team, yeah. And again, we'll see if this shifts after the combine because these former execs, former coaches, they do take the combine serious. Obviously, the Fisk one cracks me up, Jacob.
Yeah,
6.2, right? 6.2. I have him much higher than that. Like if you were to pull up my board, if I were to take a quick glance, I'm trying to remember exactly where I had him, but I think I had him. Maybe I had him around the same range. I had him at 88th in the 88th spot. But what's cool about Fisk is in 2022, his PFF ranking was 23rd in 2022. It dropped to 163 in 2023. So that's one of those players that you can kind of see. I mean, it wasn't horrible across the board, but again, where do they have him ranked overall? I'd like to know. Is it like in the 100s, 106 before the combine? So you talking about a player that helped himself for the combine, man. Holy cow. So yeah, if you were to just key in on the 33rd team, you're exactly right, Tim. There's going to be a big drop off after that 6.5 range there.
So do we do another mock and we trade up instead of back this time?
Oh, Lord have mercy. You guys are going to try to get me on here for 2 hours today, and I'm going to get no. Ooh. We promised these dogs a pup cup today.
Now here's a guy.
Ed over here sleeping on the job, girl. What are you doing? Nobody checking their mail? She's over. She's snoring. Can you hear her snoring? She's snoring right now. I love it.
Got it made over there.
Yeah, these dogs are spoiled rotten, dude. All right. What other position, guys? What else we want to look at here? Safety. Let's talk about safety for just a second. Look how it drops off. Nobody in the top 3 tiers. Then you got Newman and Kinchins, right? Which is a strong starter. That's that range we're talking about, early second, right? Probably early second round for both those guys. Now, Kinchin may drop. We'll see what happens to the board. Then you go, 2 more tiers without a safety. And then you get into another cluster here at 6.4. You got Bishop out of Utah. You got Hicks out of Washington State, I believe that is. Oladipo out of Oregon State. There's your boy Javon Bullard in that range there, Jacob, in the 6.4 range out of Georgia. You got Mustafa out of Wake Forest, Simpson out of Auburn, and Caden Bullock out of USC. And then it skips a whole another tier, and then you get to Smith and Vaki in the 6.2 range. So kind of interesting to see how all that. There's Bo Braid. Many people keep talking about Bo Braid. They have a 5.8 on Bo Braid. Yeah, that feels a lot like our boy Jeremiah Trotter Jr., right? Like what's he doing down there that low, right? Let's see what range Trotter Jr. is actually in here. I'm trying to remember. So it would be right here. Yeah, right here. So yeah. So you see he's just one tier ahead of where they've got Bo Braid, Trotter Jr.
They got Cooper in that same tier too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. The 33rd team looks at things way different than everyone else, man. Edgerrin Cooper wasn't as high on my board, I don't believe, if I remember correctly. Let me see if I can find him real quick. You guys continue talking here.
Is there a way you can scroll? I want to see who their top linebackers are. I wasn't even looking.
Mm-hmm.
Can you scroll up a little bit when you get a second, Clinton?
Yeah. So before everything gets adjusted on mine, the first wave of qualifications, I have Edgerrin Cooper in the 87 spot. So just to kind of put that in perspective. So, all right, would you say scroll up?
Yeah, if you could. Wow, there's a big gap.
Yeah, no doubt. Big gap.
Keep going up. I want to see who they have as their top. Dang. Okay. So
top what?
They got Junior Colson, Cedric Gray, and then Peyton Wilson as their top guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about. Junior Colson. I had him when I sat down and kind of ranked our linebacker group. I had Jeremiah Trotter Jr. 1, Junior Colson 2, Edgerrin Cooper 3. Right. We look at the 33rd team and go, okay, of those 3, they like Colson as their best linebacker. That's why I'm like, Colson may be the dude. Don't be surprised if Colson ends up being that linebacker in this draft. Let's see where they have Peyton. Well, they got Peyton Wilson right there, don't they? Okay, yeah. So he's at 6.6. So he may leapfrog Colson until Colson does his pro day, right? We'll see how that shakes out there. But you see, as far as like the edge defenders, they're pretty spot on with how the numbers dropped as far as the combine. You know, Turner had a good combine. I'm pretty sure Letu did as well. Chop Robinson obviously was just scorching fast. Verse had a good combine. You can kind of see they've got those guys in a pretty good spot at the edge position. Trying to see if there's any of them that stood out to me like, whoa, they've got them way lower than I expected. There really isn't, though. Edge, they pretty much got locked in there. So, yeah, there you go.
Now, there's some guys.
Now, let's look at quarterback. Quarterback is going to drive this draft, right? We talk about that. We want as many quarterbacks off the board. And some people are going, why were y'all talking about wide receivers? We want as many wide receivers off the freaking board as possible. When Xavier Worthy, is that his name? When he ran that 40-yard dash, I'm over here going, yes. skyrocket. Throw him. Lad McConkey too had a pretty good one if I remember correct. Right, Leggett I think he finished with a 9 RAS. Get those guys off the board before the Packers pick, man. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see happen. But when it comes to quarterbacks, they got Caleb Williams at the top of the heap, 7+. Then you skip a tier, and then they got Drake May. Then you skip a tier, you got Jaden Daniels. And then you go down 3 tiers, you got Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy. And then they got Milton at 6.3, then Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler. So Jordan Travis, they're not high on him at all at 5.9. In spite of Sam Hartman's beautiful hair, they've got a 5.8 on him. So they don't think very highly of him, which I make jokes about it. I don't think he's going to be a great pro quarterback either, to be honest with you. He might be a serviceable backup. He's got a lot of experience, kind of like Sean Clifford did, coming out of college. But when you look at running backs, who was the guy that you guys heard me say last night? I said there was a running back that leapfrogged Blake Corum for the number 1 spot now on my board, right? It was Trey Benson. But Trey Benson, after that awesome showing there at the Combine last night, he is now the number 1 running back on my board. Now, him and Blake Corum are still in the same tier, I believe, but close to it. But it's kind of that 1A, 1B type scenario. But look where the 33rd team has them. They have the first running back coming in at tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, at a 6.5. Trey Benson's their best running back. Then they've got Estime. Estime ended up having a pretty good pro day, didn't he? Am I thinking right? I know he ran slow.
He ran a 4.72, which
right. But his I think his overall grade, did he finish in the 8s? Am I thinking right, Jacob? Is that what it was?
I want to say that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everything else finished pretty strong, but they've actually got Benson and Estime slightly ahead of Jonathan Brooks.
Where do they have Gerardo or Grendo or whatever that guy's name was?
Yeah, let's see where he's at real quick. There's Bucky Irvin. Well, let me read them off real quick so everybody on the pod knows. You got Trey Benson 1, Estime 2, Jonathan Brooks 3, Will Shipley 4, Blake Corum 5. They're all in the 6.5 tier, okay? Then you got to skip a tier. You get down to 6.3. You got Bucky Irvin. And then you go down to 6.2. You got a huge cluster of guys here. You got Johnson from Washington, Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, Jordan from Louisville, Marshawn Lloyd from USC, Jalen Wright from Tennessee. You got Schrader from Missouri, McClellan from Alabama, Milton from Georgia, Tracy Jr. from Purdue, Steele from UCLA, Small from Tennessee, couple running backs from Tennessee in the same tier there. Edwards from Georgia, Rasheen Ali from is that Marshall? Yeah. And then you got to skip down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They don't even have them on the board right now. Now, listen, they may not have everyone graded yet either. For the most part, I think they've got I'm trying to remember exactly how many players they've got graded because I had it listed the other day. They've graded a bunch, obviously, but there's still a few more that's going to pop on this board before the draft gets here. This is early stages. I just want people to get familiar with what a real pro front office horizontal board actually looks like, and not some of this stuff that these guys put together on the internet claiming that they're draft gurus. This is what the horizontal boards actually look like in the NFL. So any other positions y'all want to see here before we back out of it? No? Good. You see where the tight ends top heavy we talked about? 6.8, Brock Bowers, and then Jatavian Sanders, a 6.7. Theo Johnson probably helped himself. He might jump a tier, right, into the 6.6 range. But you got Theo Johnson, you got Wiley from TCU, Stover from Ohio State, and Holker from Colorado State. Then it drops way off until you get down there to Westover, Spanford, and McLaughlin in the 5.9 range. You got a cluster of guys at 5.8. Look, they got Johnny Wilson as a tight end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, former executives, former coaches look at Johnny Wilson and go, if he's going to be in the league, he's going to be a tight end. Now, that could change, right? Maybe they were convinced at the Combine that, that could be different, but we'll see how that all shakes out. He can block. You're exactly right, Emilio. I love how Emilio dominates the show even though he isn't here. I absolutely love it, man. Oh, man. I hope he's all right, man. He might have got too wild on the town last night down there in Maryville, man. You never know about that guy.
He's in jail with a new suit.
He's in jail. Yeah, he's in jail, but he's looking good.
He woke up and that pinky was like, oh.
Hey, there it is. I saved you, Jacob. Look at that comment. Saved you. Number 1 Packer fan said, thoughts on Cooper DeJean, possible Micah Hyde type guy? ? I've never been crazy high on Cooper DeJean. One of the reasons, I'll tell you why. Let me see where he's at on my board here. I know I had him graded out, and he was like around the top 50, I believe. Let me find him. Maybe he was
Hopefully
a
he
little.
doesn't mean Micah Hyde type guy in the sense that we draft him and then trade him.
You better stop it. You better stop it right now. Gosh, man, I'm having a hard time locating this font. Is so low here on mine. How do you feel? How do you guys? Let's go around the horn there. How do y'all feel about Cooper DeJean right off the bat? I'll try to find him on my board here real quick.
I liked him a lot right away. I mocked him to us in pretty much every single draft I did. It's just that once I put on the tape and once I actually started, looking at the PFF grade and looking at what the other guys can do, it's not that I wouldn't be okay with drafting him. I would be happy, but I just think that for where he's getting drafted, there's better prospects.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I'm not like super high on him, but I'm also not like low on him. I'm kind of just. I wouldn't be bummed if he ended up being a Packer, but I don't think he's a guy that, I think a lot of people really have their sights set on him. And I don't see it that way either.
Yeah. So when you look at the cornerback room, according to the 33rd team, they got Kool-Aid McKinstry 1, Nate Wiggins 2, Rakestraw 3, Quinyon Mitchell 4th. Then it goes down a tier. Let's see. I'm sorry. 6.8 tier is only Kool-Aid McKinstry and Nate Wiggins. And then the 6.7 tier, they had Rakestraw and Mitchell. And then you go down to 6.6. You got Terry and Arnold out of Alabama, and there's Cooper DeJean. So they have a 6.6 on him. So they have him as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th best corner. Yeah, ranked 6th.
And as Rakestraw is a guy I'll target. There's a guy that I'll target.
Cooper DeJean, does he not look like he was on an episode of Leave It to Beaver, man? Seriously. It's hilarious, man, that he's because he's kind of known as an aggressive player, and this and that. You look at him, it's like, yeah, this dude looks like a CPA. What the hell's going on here? Like
Wally. Hey, Wally.
Wally. All right. So on my board, Cooper DeJean is actually sitting in the number 29 spot. Now, in 2022, 11th in PFF grade. In 2023, 151st amongst corners. So, guys, he did not play good last year. Some people were saying he was battling injuries, this, that, and the other. Daniel Jeremiah has him as number 29 on his big board. So the same exact spot that I have him, Daniel Jeremiah has him in. And then, of course, the 33rd team, I think they had him at 33 or 32. So, he's grading out right now as the 29th best player on my board right now. So a little bit higher than I thought I had him. Every time we've done a mock draft, he's never like the best player available for me. I'm always like, I like this guy a little better. At least the board says so, not me personally, but yeah. So there you go on Cooper. Now, as far as him playing safety, if he can play safety, great. That maybe that is the answer to safety. I know PFF has mocked him to the Packers several times. So he's one of those names that keeps getting mentioned. Now, what's one of the other recent qualifiers we've seen here lately? Jaden Reed last year obviously had a bad year, and then you go back 2 years, and that was a dominant year. That's kind of what you see with Cooper DeJean. So that lines up with a little bit of the most recent draft. We'll see how that goes. But Prince in the chat says Clark, Wooden, and Brooks better fit for new interior defensive line positions than Slayton and Ford. I think so. Slayton and Ford are those traditional 34 nose tackles, right? 34, a 3-4 defensive nose tackle. Us switching to a 4-3, whether you're in an under or an over, in a 4-3 under or over. And let me explain real quick. Some people may be new. In a 4-3, right? In a 4-3 base, you're just kind of evenly split, your 4 defensive linemen. If you're in an over, you're shaded to the strong side. You're over the strong side. Okay, that's the way to remember it, which means you're going to have a defensive lineman that's going to be kicked out a little bit wider on the tight end side. Okay, that's how they play that sometimes. And if you're playing an under, they're going to be shifted. Those 2 interior defensive linemen are going to be shifted to the weak side. They're going to be under the strong side, right? So they're under the strong side. Typically, when you go to an underlook, the Sam, the strong side backer, and when we say strong side, we're talking about the tight end side of the formation. The Sam will come down and kind of fit on that defensive line sometimes, right? So you'll have a 5-man front, right, which is essentially what you had before with your 34 jam, right? You had 3 big boy interior defensive linemen playing at 34 jam, and you had your 2 9-techs, right, your wide 9s. In a 34 under with the Sam on the line of scrimmage, you've essentially got a 5-man front. The only difference is that Sam is the guy setting the edge. Who's going to be your Sam? Is it going to be Quay? Is it going to be Devondre Campbell? Is it going to be Isaiah McDuffie? I think Quay is probably a little better fit for the Sam than Devondre Campbell.
Yep.
You also seen the Packers like to play Quay Walker at Mike. So when you talk about Sam, Mike, and Will in the 4-3 defense, it's just an easy way, a one syllable word to identify each linebacker. Okay, your middle linebacker is referred to as the Mike. Okay, some people call him the Mo, some people call him Max. It's going to be an M word attached. 90% of the league refers to it as the Mike. Okay. The Sam is the strong side backer, the backer that plays on the strong side of the formation, which is typically the side that the tight end is on. Okay. The Will is the weak side linebacker. Weak equals Will, which is going to be on the opposite of the tight end side or the strong side of the formation. All right. So that's how that's going to play. Now, you'll hear spur mentioned. Okay. This gets mentioned a little more in college than it does the pros. But the spur is the safety that comes into the box and plays in the run fit. Okay, so sometimes you'll have a 4-3 over where your guys will be playing over the tight end side. So your defensive line is going to be shading. They're going to be cheating to the strong side, and the will come up on the line of scrimmage, making it a 5-man look. And you'll have the safety drop into the box because when that will drops in, now the Sam and the Mike have to rotate over. And the reason you don't want to spend too much time talking about this is because we're going to be in nickel a large majority of the time. So this is only going to be against base offenses, which is going to be 21 personnel if you're playing like a San Francisco, 12 personnel if you're playing like Sean McVay's offense or our offense, right? So when they show a 12 and a 21 look, most of the time you're going to be in your 4-3 base. Other than that, you're going to be in a nickel. Guess what our nickel is? The same exact thing that we ran under Joe Barry. The only difference is instead of the outside linebackers being outside linebackers, now they're called defensive ends. And at Boston College, he had those guys standing up on third downs a good chunk of the time. So it's not like they're just going to, by default, put their hand in the dirt. So we were referring to a nickel 2-4-5. Now on the depth chart, people like Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith most likely will be now just defensive ends on the depth chart. It's the same exact defense. It's just now we're calling it a nickel 4-2-5 as opposed to a nickel 2-4-5. Silly, I know, but that's why Matt LaFleur, I about said a bad word, slapped around the media last year and said, you guys do know that our outside linebackers are the size of defensive ends.
Oh, I love that press conference. That was where Tupac LaFleur was born right there.
Tupac LaFleur and Gangster Goody. I love it, man. Absolutely love it. All right.
Trying.
So let's go around the horn one more time here, gang. Anything else you guys want to hit? And thank you, Prince. That was a good question, man. Good question there for sure. To answer your question, I think Slayton will probably still. There's a good chance he'll still be on the roster. If there is one defensive lineman I would cut out of there, it would be Slayton because the one thing that is in the back of my mind with that question, Prince, is Carl Brooks played a ton of defensive end and he played it well in college. So there's a chance he can kick out the defensive end, right? And if that's the case, now you're getting – somebody said the other day, play Preston Smith at Sam. And I'm going, you guys complained the whole year about him being in coverage, and now all of a sudden you want him playing like –
No, I want to see Quay there. Man. I want to see Quay there. Sam or the Will.
I really do think he's built for Sam, but the problem is, can Devondre Campbell handle the mic? Right? That's the thing.
Or can Zay McDuffie handle the mic? See, that's a guy. There's a guy.
Can Junior Colson handle the mic?
Yep.
I'm just saying. Get a rookie linebacker in here, man.
We got another good one here from Packer.
The notorious G-U-D.
That might be better than Gangster Goot.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Because Pac and Biggie, Pac and Biggie just go so well together, right? Like you got to, that would be perfect. That would be perfect.
We're making a shirt, guys, so get ready.
Get ready. It's coming. We'll probably get sued, but that's fine.
No, we can't. I'm trademarking Tupac LaFleur right there. That's
Look at this.
That's me.
I mentioned we'll probably get sued, and look what happened. She left. She's like, I'm out of here. No more dog food at this house. I'm gone. See you. So there you go. Love it. Thanks, Etta. You're a ride or die. So, all right, round the horn here real quick. We're at the hour mark. Anything else you want to add, Jacob? Any other thing in your anything else in your notes you want to hit on, man?
No, we'll wrap up here. It'll be fun to see the offensive linemen. Honestly, I'm sick of the combine. I'm ready to get into the draft talk now and move to the next phase. It was fun while it lasted. It was cool though, real quick, just to see all in once. It's like my childhood. I didn't realize how old I am. We saw Jerry Rice's kid. We saw Frank Gore's kid. We saw Jeremiah Trotter's kid. Saw McCaffrey's little brother. It's just kind of weird how it feels like, 20 years went by like that in my little kid brain. It's like, oh, all of a sudden you're old and you die. We're all dying. Everything's going to die.
I love it, Jacob.
Yeah, for me, it was when I realized the oldest player in the NFL is still younger than me.
I know.
That's when it was like,
exactly. Oh, man. It's tough, man. It's tough getting old. I'll tell you, I have these moments now, not to get too heavy, but I have these moments where I look up and go, oh, yeah, so-and-so, and I'm going, yeah, he's gone. Just in your personal life. It's like, yeah, that's right. Passed away like 6 years ago. It's just telling you, man, some people are listening to this and they're in their early 20s going, oh, he's that guy. I was where you were going, oh, these old people, man.
You'll be that guy soon. Don't worry.
And I'm telling you, my advice is slow the hell down. Enjoy family. Enjoy friends, man.
That's right.
It goes quick, boys. I'm telling you, it goes quick. But with that being said, we're going to get out of here. Tim, you got anything else, Bob?
Nope, just that.
There you go, Jacob. Take that with you for breakfast, bro. Enjoy that.
I'm hungry.
and the parting advice we give everyone too.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
All right, there you go. So we appreciate everybody hanging out with us this morning. The chat was absolutely lit up. Good questions, good conversation. We'll be back tonight. I believe you guys are available. Y'all available tonight? We'll get on here and talk a little ball. We'll have the offensive lineman measurables. That'll be huge. That's going to shift some stuff around too.
Yep.
And like Jacob said, we'll start to kind of forge ahead into free agency, right? And then as soon as free agency kind of starts to cool off, guess what? We'll be staring down the draft. So we want ideas for the draft party too, guys. As we put together our live draft stream, any ideas you guys and gals have out there, we'll take into consideration. Anything, any kind of format y'all want, that type of thing. Obviously, we got copyright, guidelines we got to follow, but we will have. I'll tell you what, this won't be. Many draft podcasts and stuff. They're like, don't tip the picks. Don't tip the picks. We're going to tip the hell out of the picks. The second we have the information, you're going to have it here. That's the way that's going to work. I never understood that, trying to control like this big buildup. It's like, you think these people aren't looking on their phone anyway? What are we doing? What are we doing? I've watched so many draft parties do that, and it just drives me insane. So we will have the picks up in real time, and guys on here, people in the chat, you'll be free to, the second you get the pick, throw it in the chat. If you lie more than twice trying to get attention, you're going to get you'll get one of these right here if you're in here trying to act cute, throwing us off on the real stuff.
Roadhouse.
Just keep that in mind too. All right. But with that being said, it'll be a lot of fun though. Send us some ideas, text us, email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com, text us 865-658-5824, and we'll throw some ideas into consideration. But it should be a good time, man. It's just going to be a live, just hang out just like we're doing here. We'll be doing some goofy stuff, having fun, laughing a lot, but we'll also be getting the draft in real time. So it'll be good. So we will see you guys tonight. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.